Hey everyone, my name is Daniel Wayne, and this is my Paradigm Challenge submission. I'm a ninth grader at Clovis North High School in Fresno, California, and what I've done is basically made an app, an Android app, in Android Studio. The reason I chose Android instead of iOS was because you need a Mac in order to program an iOS, and I'm using an emulator. That's what this is, and so basically it presents the app digitally and since I don't actually have an Android. I do intend on publishing this app, but as of now, it's not published, but I do intend to in the near future. Okay, so let's get started. In this video, I'm basically going to be going through the code and walking you through what I've done to create this app and my purpose of this app. First things first, why did I decide to make an app instead of a simple presentation? Well, because almost everybody I know, has a phone, and an app is a good way to reach out to people, to spread mental awareness, even wellness, even if it's not so fancy. It can still be a good way to spread an idea and spread positivity. And the reason I chose this format in quotes in like a slideshow manner was because when I was going through tough patches in life, I found it awfully, or not awfully, but very hard to find wisdom or to find motivation. But I did through speeches of well-known people and quotes of inspiring people. And so that's what I've done. I've collected my favorite quotes and piled them together along with corresponding images. So that's what I've done. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through the code and tell you basically everything I've did. I further apologize if I do get anything wrong. I'm still kind of new to this, but I have the gist of it, and I'll just walk you through it. So let's get started. So all this code is automatically given to when you first start a project. So this grayed out part are basically comments. So I'm basically telling the reader. Whoops. I'm basically telling the reader of the code what I've done, and it doesn't tell the machine anything, but it sure helps others understand the code. Excuse me. So view flipper. That's what I've started this code off. What is a view, you may ask? Whoa, and you can see right here, image view, text view, and that's what basically it is. It shows you uh, a view of something. So an image view would obviously be a view of an image. Text view would obviously be a view of text. There's also buttons. It's not a button view, but it shows you a button, and when pressed, it activates a method or function. So that's what a view flipper is. It goes through all the views. If I wanted to create just a simple slideshow of images, it'd be really easy because I just needed to just fill in the views. But I didn't. I want a slideshow with also text. So that's why we have relative layout here. And so there's another comment just basically telling the reader this is the welcome screen. And that's what this is, the welcome screen. So right here, relative layout, basically what it means is everything, all this is correspondent with the relative layout of the screen, the relative layout of, or the relative size of each button, each text view, and so you can position it as how you want. For example, I have the description under the title, and that's with the help of a relative layout. So let's go through the code. And so most of this code is basically rinse and repeat for the rest. But there's also like major changes you have to do, so it's different. So it's not completely copy and paste, but a lot of it is reused and recycled. So I'll just go through the code here, and so you can understand it later on. So as you can see, Android width and Android height, it has this weird code that says match parent. So basically, the parent is the screen. So if I have the width and the height to match the parent, that means I have the width to be the same size as the screen, and the length and the height, I'm sorry, to be the same height as the screen. So I have the gravity centered. That means the rough area you can see in the image is centered, and scale type center crop. I have it so it fills the whole screen, and it also crops it so then there's no white empty spaces. And so, and I also have, you might be wondering, well, how do I get this image? You have to, well, I downloaded it from the internet and then saved it onto a file. And then I recall that file. The file is called drawable. And the file, in the image, I named it gradient. And so that's what that is. It's basically a background. So, text view. So for relative layout, you basically have to assign almost every text view an ID. So what the ID is basically calling it. So if I want to put this under mental wellness, I would have to have an ID under it. Well, some of these text views I don't need an ID for because I'm not actually um scaling it, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. So I have layout width, match parent, that's what we talked about, matching the parent, the width. The length says wrap content, which basically means the height, I'm sorry. The height only goes up to whatever is in here. So if I had like an extra row, the height would be would increase. If I deleted something, the height would decrease, or if I made it smaller, the height would decrease, and it's basically wrapping the content. Margin top, that's what the space between here is. I have it margin just a little bit. Margin left, I have it so on the left side, and it also applies to the right side. That well, in this scenario, that there's still space left, so it's more centered. I have it centered horizontal. Whoops, I just messed it up. I have centered horizontal true, which means the text is horizontal. And font family, that's just the font of the text. And gravity center, that's almost like it centers everything, all the text inside. And I also have the color and the size of the text. And text style bold, it can also be italic, but I chose bold for the title. So as you can see here, text style, I chose italic for this because it's the description, meant for the description. I put this almost the same thing. I assigned it an ID, almost the same thing, except, now let me try, I put it layout below. So I have this text below this title header. And so I just recall back to the ID assign and just put layout below ID. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Okay. So, text view. I have another text view above the button and another text view above the button. It's basically the same thing up here, except I put layout above. And so I had to so as you'll see later, the button, I had to reestablish the buttons here so I could align this text view and this text view according to the buttons. But you'll see that. So that's the main slide. It's pretty simple. It's just a bunch of text and a bunch of aligning. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So when I press next, it'll show up to this screen with the code. If you're working on something that you really care about, you don't have to be pushed. The vision pulls you by Steve Jobs. And that really hits home with me because it helps remind me that if I really want something, I should just keep going for it because it'll pull me in, and it'll pay off in the near future. Okay, so basically the same code here with the relative layout and the image view. I have a different image and basically almost the same thing. This view, this text, um, in Android Studio, you can also design it without the code, which I don't personally like. I like typing the code. It gives me that experience as well. But you can also change it. So in design, I actually did change it a little, but I just kind of shifted it down. But I don't like it, so I tried it out a little. That's what that code is for. I can't tell you exactly what it does, but it's there. So same thing pretty much here. I have the color, and you have to assign the color with I'm not sure what it's called, but it's almost like a serial number, a serial code, and that's what that is. Text size, it's an SP. I don't really know what SP means off the top of my head, but that's just the size of the text. Again, text style in bold. I have it just wrap content width and height, so opposed to the other one, which was width match parent, this is width wrap content. So if I decided I wanted to type less. There'd be less, but that's what basically that is for width. And yeah, that's basically what it is. It's a pretty good quote just to start off everything. And I chose this picture of a boat because it's obviously alone, and so it's inspiring and it corresponds well with the quote, and I really like it. The next is I chose this kind of gloomy picture because at first it's like, oh, it's like fall's ending, summer's ending. It's gonna be winter, and there's hardly gonna be any green, depending on where you live. But I chose this quote by Dr. Seuss: "Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened," and that really hits home as well because it gives a new perspective on when things end, as like movies end or like your favorite TV series. That's the more casual, but again, when more serious stuff happens in life, that quote really touches because we it gives us a new perspective on at least it happened, at least we could experience it, and it's a really good quote along with the picture. Basically, what I have done here is I have the same thing, image view. It's almost like copy and paste, but you do have to change it quite a bit to have a different layout and different image. I have a new quote, obviously. I actually changed the font from casual to sans serif medium, which is it's kind of random, but I like the font. I have it bold, um, and also it's in white too. So that's basically what it is. Oh, and align parent bottom. That means it's aligned to the bottom of the screen, and I also have a margin, so it's not directly touching the bottom, or else it would be behind the buttons, and I don't want that. So I have it stationed like that, which is also margin from the bottom, so it's more readable. Slide 3 is is a quote we should and a piece of wisdom that we should all hold. It's to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment, which is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And that should be inspiring to a lot of people when we all have expectations by teachers, by parents, by adults, by friends, and sometimes we don't really like the plan they have for us, and we have a different plan. And I say that to be you, even though everybody else wants you to be something else, or everybody wants you to dress this way, everybody wants you to talk this way, to be you is the greatest accomplishment no matter what. And so I chose obviously this image because it suits well with the quote. I also changed the font, or not the font, the color of the text to black using this serial code. I'm not sure what it's called actually, but I'm just gonna call it a serial code. This code, I have it pretty much the same, not the same. I have it in bold because I wanted to stand out, and I accidentally added the space. But yeah, I changed the font back to casual, and it's a pretty good quote, and I really like it. Slide 4. I chose this image because it's more like a as it kind of goes along with the quote, but it's more like there's the red and there's the blue, and so I like the contrast of it. How they're both they both stand out, and you can see both in the place, and there's also a little purple there, which can also tie into the quote. And the quote is 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the boat lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover by H. Jackson Brown Jr. And so that is it's basically telling you to step out of your comfort zone, take risks, even if it does you'll like in the future you'll be glad that you at least did it instead of not doing it. And so to basically explore from this quote, um use the general guidelines of the text, station incorrectly. I basically the same with the image view. And yeah, a lot of it again I said is almost rinse and repeat, but you also recycle the code. you also use the code and change up the code and remove some of it. It's all very almost trial and error, but not really. You just see how you like it and use an emulator to see how it turns out. The last slide is to almost send you off. It's the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step by Lao Tzu. And so this really it's almost I'm sorry, my phone just went off. It's almost easier said than ever done because that's actually true. We always compare ourselves. This happens with me a lot. I often compare myself with others, saying, "Oh, I can't be as smart as them. I can't be as good as them." But the journey of 1,000 steps begins with one step. So if I ever want to be like that, I have to take the first step. I have to take the first action. So that's what that is. And so I put this grand, it's way more than 1,000 miles, but to get even close to this, you have to take the first step. You have to take the first move. And so that really, and I obviously spent a lot of time on this, changing the font, looking at the font I want, because I wanted to send the user off. And obviously I'll add more slides in the future, but that's basically it. Because from here I have the welcome screen again, so just recycle or it re goes. And so I really like this quote to send it off along with the picture. It's really nice. And the reason, again, I chose an app was because it's way more available. If I just chose a slide to submit the project, get my grade, I would do that. I'm sorry. I would do that, but I want this to be available to others. And so I do plan on publishing it. But yeah, that's sweet. So I have all this code, and that's what all this code basically is. It's basically the text that's positioned along with the text itself, the quote itself, um, the font, the the dimensions. Basically, that's what all this is, and it's not too complicated. It just takes a while. So finally, we have the buttons, and this is the part where I do have to admit I did a lot of research on this on Google, and I picked some code there and there on GitHub, which is basically a an open source it's an open source code. So then if you're really stuck on like a code or you don't know how to make something, you can just go on copy and paste, and it'll get you the code that you need. So basically I have these buttons, and so the button layout, we already know what layout width and layout height are. That's what wrap content, so that means it's set to this dimension for the content in it. The text inside the button would be previous, and then this one would be next. So that would be next. And align parent bottom, that's what this is. So it's aligned to the bottom, so it's not all the way at the top. With a little bit of margin at the bottom, so there's a little bit of space at the bottom. And obviously you have to sign an ID for a button because if it wants to be used in different scenarios, you need an ID to cite back to it. So um there's this special code that says on click, next view, Android on click, previous view, and that's where this Java code comes in. So basically, I did not write this code myself. Um, I got it off of someone else on GitHub, so it could help me. But this code is it's not too complex. So basically, what it does is this code came with a lot of extra code that didn't need to be used. For example, like it automatically changed, but I didn't want that. But I saved it as a comment. So that's what these comments is. It's just cited differently with the slash and asterisk. So to briefly explain what it does is view flipper, find view flipper, and then so it finds the view flipper, and then assigns it assigns the so public means it's available to the whole class, and that's what this is. Void means it doesn't return any like physical, it doesn't return like a string, which is basically a lawn. list of characters. It doesn't return like a number or a number with a decimal, which is called a double. It doesn't return an integer, and so that's what this is. And so view flipper, basically that's, I want to say it's the command, but it's telling it to flip the view, and this is the code. So this is what the function is called for this. So I just have to cite this, and it'll execute the code for them. So that's what next, previous, and that's how I got that. And so basically, that's basically my project. That's what roughly almost 6 hours took. It pretty, but um it's a lot of learning in the process. But it's really fun, and I hope you enjoy it. I gladly accept any feedback, and if you stumbled across this video and didn't mean to, please leave a like or leave some feedback on what I should change. Again, I do plan on publishing it, and if I do indeed publish it, I'll have the description to download it if you'd like on Android. But yeah, that's basically all I have, and thank you for your time.